Okay, well, I finally got my mini excavator back here to my shop. Now, if you watch my videos, you know that I've been complaining about the cushion valve thing for a long time now. This here is a Summit cushion valve that Cam from the Garage Connection and Central Digger Supply told everybody about this cushion valve part number. So I bought this separate and was going to get a hose kit, and then he was out of stock for a long time. But fortunately for me, they came back in stock a while back, and so I ordered a hose kit. I basically have what I need now to do my cushion valve in my machine. I am a little curious. This thing used to have 4 hoses, and now there's only 2, but he gives you these 2 adapters. So I still kind of need to figure out what the plan is with that, because I had this whole setup different in my head. But anyway, I have been watching videos on this cushion valve, so that's what I'm going to do now. Those 2 lines right there are the lines that are going to be used during this cushion valve install, and then obviously this here is the swing motor. So obviously with all this stuff removed, it's incredibly easy to get to that now. But when you actually have all the sheet metal on and everything, it looks far more daunting. So that's up to you whether or not you want to take the whole thing apart, but in this case it's really cool having this wide open, because there's going to be some testing and whatnot, fine-tuning involved, so it'd be kind of nice to have this remain open in case I do something horribly wrong. But anyway, I've been watching some of the Garage Connection videos, and basically what I kind of have been seeing here is that in one of his videos he has the cushion valve laid out like this. You obviously have these 2 hoses that go in one side, and then the 2 adapters that go out the other side. And then these are the 2 adjustment points. And the way he explained it is the fluid is directional. There's 2 lines of fluid going through there, and then the 2 relief valves or whatever, which the technical stuff, I can't really help you a lot there, but I'm just trying to do this as close to the way he did it as possible. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna connect these 2 hoses into this cushion valve, and then I'm gonna put these 2 adapters into this cushion valve. I'm gonna preset both of these spring valve relief things. I'm gonna preset these on my bench before putting it on my mini excavator. I'm gonna have to adjust it again once it's on the machine, but just to show you kind of what Cam was kind of saying, I'm gonna show it up on the bench. I got a bunch of wrenches here. I have a 13, a 14. These are for adjusting these valves. The 17 and the 19. The 17 is for these, and then the 19 millimeter is for some of these other fittings here. So gonna have to have some metric wrenches. And then in his video he uses these crowfoot things. I actually bought these from WorkPro a long time ago, only because Cam was using these in his videos, so I kind of thought that I had to have one. But in my case, since I have a QH12R, I don't need it because I have access right there. But if you have one with pilot controls, or you have one with all the sheet metal on it, then it might help, but in this instance I don't need to use it. I also grabbed my 4mm Icon T-handle. You're going to need that to adjust these. So let's get started by doing these. Now the weird thing about DIN, to me at least, is that I'm so used to like either taping or doping things that I don't think you have to do it with these fittings. I mean, in his videos, I don't remember him putting anything on these, so I'm not going to. Okay, now for these. Okay, now I'm going to preset these. So what he said, Cam, he said to drive these all the way in and then back about 5 full turns and then start there. And then if it's too loose and the system rotates when it shouldn't, then you increase the spring pressure by turning inward. Or if it's too tight and you need it to rotate easier, then you back it outward, I think. Don't quote me on that. This right here is like it's like a set screw. So I already messed with this one earlier. I'm gonna run it all the way in. That's about it. So, try to make this make sense here. Anytime it comes to having to turn something a certain amount of times, whether it's like a carburetor or a jet or anything like that, the thing about using T-handles, if you can, is that it gives you, it tells you how many half turns you've done. So right now it's driven all the way in there, right? I need to back this thing out 5 complete turns. So that's 10 half turns. So that right there is 1 half turn. So I need 9 more of these half turns. That's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Technically that should be 5 complete turns outward, or 10 half turns, right? So I'm gonna drive this thing all the way back in there. I'm gonna do that again. Okay, that should be 5 turns out. Should be. Doesn't mean I just did it correctly, but I'm using a 13mm for this one. And then the outside cap, which this is just a protective cap that covers the end of this Allen thing. Probably have to adjust this, so I don't really need to put this on, but I'm just gonna do it for now. But I'm gonna have to take this off again when I readjust this cushion valve. Okay, so that's one side done. Do the same thing to the other side. Man, that thing sure turns. Jeez. So it's probably pretty easy to mess these up, which is why you're supposed to use 2 wrenches. Wow, that one's way out. So if you're gonna drive it all the way in, you have to back this nut out far enough that it has room to go in there. So now we're gonna drive this all the way in there. He said not to like crank on it or anything, just to get it to the point where it doesn't want to go anymore. It's starting to give more resistance. Okay, that's about as far as it wants to go. Now this isn't completely level, it's tilted a little bit, but we're gonna go from there because I don't want to over tighten this. So same thing, I'm backing this out 5 complete turns. And 5. Okay, now we're gonna put this nut in there, hold one end with this T-handle, tighten that down just a little bit. Okay, don't want that moving, so I'm not gonna tighten this cap down too much. Like I said, I'm gonna have to take it off again. Okay, so I think here we're good. So now let's go to the machine. Okay, now we need to loosen these, and these are 17 millimeter. Well, the other one wants to go too, so we're gonna have to hold that. Looks like 24 millimeter. So I'm gonna hold that. It's funny how some things are incredibly loose, other stuff is on there really tight. Okay, there's one. Same thing, 24 millimeter down there. Okay, there's that. Okay, so now I'm going to be hooking up these hoses to the slew motor, and then the hoses that I just loosened are going to be going on these. Now, I still do not know which one goes to what, but it sounds like if it's wrong, if you go to turn left and you turn right, you just have to swap one of the hoses. So let's see, and I'm gonna have to bend these hoses one way or another. I don't know, let's see. This could actually be kind of hard. There's not a lot of room here. Okay, so I got it in there. I had to do a time lapse because that took me a while, but if you're confused, don't worry. I'm confused too, but I got the two hoses coming off the directional control valve going to one side of the cushion valve. Out the other side are the hoses that were included from Central Digger Supply, and those go into the swing motor itself. I got this crazy wraparound. It goes this right here. This one right here is the one for the swing in the machine. So you have two hoses coming off of there, goes underneath, circles around, goes into the cushion valve, circles around again, and then goes into the swing motor. So now obviously I don't want to put all the sheet metal and stuff back on, because if I need to adjust the cushion valve again, you got to have access to each side. In this case, I can bend it up a little bit and get it to the point where I can fit my T-handle on there and adjust that as needed. And then when it's adjusted to where it needs to be, I think this will work the way I have it right now. My only concern is you don't want this cushion valve, you know, hitting certain things on this battery. I covered this battery with a towel, which it really won't, and I can always use some heavy zip ties and zip tie it out of the way. And then the floor of this machine is level with this angle iron right here and level with this as well. So I have plenty of room there to have these hoses sit here and be out of the way. So what I need to do now, I need to get this thing put together enough that I can start it up. Get this thing fired up. Let's see. This is what Cam meant on the garage connection. See how I have these backwards, so when I try to go left, swing left, it goes to the right, and when I try to go right, it goes to the left. That's funny. Now that I messed up on that cushion valve, I got to swap that out. So in theory, if I just take two of these lines and swap them, it should be good. Left should go left and right should go right. I'm just gonna swap these two. Okay, test number 2. Still wrong. Might have to switch them at the motor. That's confusing. I swore I switched these. I know one of them flew out of my hand, so I hope I didn't just put them both back in the same spot, but probably have to switch them at the motor, so I'll do that. Okay, I got them switched around. Let's try it again. Whoops. Okay, so obviously I need to adjust the cushion valve. The push test that I'm doing is not working because you're supposed to get it so then you can't really get it to move, but if you try hard enough, you should be able to spin it. I'm not spinning it, I'm literally moving the tracks. That's how much leverage I have up here. Isn't that crazy? I guess it is, the weight's coming off the back of this thing anyways because the boom is out. That's how bad I need a counterweight on this. I gotta remember what I'm doing here. So both of these are backed out 5 full times. So I need to continue backing them out and I need to pay attention to how much I do that. So I'm gonna do 1 full turn on this and then do 1 full turn on the other. The 14 millimeter here is for getting this off, which it's already loose. I didn't tighten them down. Double check that this is a 4. Which it is. Okay. I know this is hard to see, but I have this T-handle basically parallel with the cushion valve right now. The 13 mil, I need to hold this set screw, and I need to hold this so it doesn't spin, and then I need to loosen the set screw, which I just did. Okay, I'm gonna do 1 full circle. I know this is hard to see, my bad. Half, 1. I want to make sure I'm getting this set screw tightened enough. I don't want this thing vibrating and moving out of adjustment. So I'm going to hold this T-handle and grab the 13. Tighten it. Okay. I know I don't need to put this back on, but I'm just doing it anyway. Okay, now for the other side, which is going to be a little more difficult. There we go. Okay, same thing with this. Put that T-handle on there, parallel with the cushion valve. Hold that. Use my 13 to loosen the set screw. Okay, I'm going to back this thing out 1 full turn. There's half, 1. Okay, so now we're 6 turns out. I'll try this again. You know, actually, don't actually need to run the machine, I don't think. Still trying to turn the whole thing. I'm gonna turn these out again. I'm gonna do one more on this side, go back to the other side. I wanna see this thing loose. Like, I wanna see what it's like when there's barely any resistance on this thing. In the garage connection videos, he said you want it right on that, right in that sweet spot where if you just push on it with a little force, it won't turn. But if you really push into it, then you can get it to turn, which is kind of what I just did. But it was chunky. It wasn't, I don't know, it's hard to say too when this whole thing wants to rotate. So so both of these are 6 out right now. 6 full turns out. Okay, now I'm gonna go to 7. 6.5, 7. Okay, now we're gonna back this out 1 turn. There's 6.5, 7 full turns out. So each side of this cushion valve is adjusted 7 turns out. So in a way, I kind of shot myself in the foot because on the other side of that garage door is my Chevrolet pickup because I have to fix the brakes. So I can't wheel this thing outside, but he did say you need to work the air through the lines, and to do that, he said go in circles a lot. So I really don't have a ton of room in here to do that, and I can't really drive outside and do it. So I wonder if I have room in here to try that. Keep in mind while I'm doing this, I am checking for leaks, which nothing's spraying out of anything. So both of these are backed out 7 turns, and I hope I'm not going the wrong direction. I should probably double check that, but I'm gonna back these each out again, another full circle. Alright, let's try this again. I wonder if right now I can push it. Ooh, yeah. Okay. I just want to see what it does. That's cool. Can definitely tell that that works. It makes a difference. Awesome. So I really like how well that works. It's completely obvious that when you let off of that lever, it keeps traveling a little bit. The delay is, there's a little bit of a delay when you go to turn, but it's a tiny delay. But the delay for when it stops is what's important, and obviously that works. So I might have it too loose, like I might need to increase the pressure. I need to write that down right now, that these are both 8 turns out. I probably need to tighten each of these a half turn. So I'm gonna go write that down. I run a pretty professional program here. Well, I am so glad that I finally got this cushion valve hooked up and working. It's been a long time coming. Like I've said in so many of my videos, I really didn't want to do anything to this machine until that cushion valve issue was figured out. So I feel so much better now about my swing motor having a much less chance of getting broken than before the cushion valve was in there. So that makes me feel good. Off camera, I did check all 4 of those mounting bolts for this swing motor to make sure they were tight. Only one of them moved a tiny bit, so they were tight anyway, so that's good. If I really wanted to be proactive about this, I would actually take those out one at a time and put some thread lock on it and then drive them home, and then I really wouldn't have to worry about it. But that's something that I check all the time anyway, so I feel like if they started to loosen up, I would know. But so like I said earlier, I made a note. I need to adjust the adjustment screws on this cushion valve in a half turn. I think right now it's too loose, or it's, you know, doesn't have enough tension on it. I think that, you know, if I had 100 pounds of dirt in the bucket or whatever, I think this thing would swing a lot easier than it even does now. So might need to tighten that up just a little bit, because you don't want the whole thing swinging, you know, on its own because it's set that loose. You don't want that. But you also don't want it so tight that it stops abruptly. So it's all about finding that sweet spot. I'm not really gonna find that until I take this out in the field and test it and make some more adjustments. Luckily, it's not a terrible location for this thing. Pretty easily adjustable, especially this part, and then the other part you just kind of gotta fool around with these hoses for a while, and you know, you can adjust them. But anyway, I hope, I'm not very good at showing things. I have terrible lighting in this garage. My camera doesn't zoom in on anything or focus very good, so I apologize if this wasn't a very informative video. It wasn't really a how-to anyways, because I don't even know what I'm doing, but I just wanted to show what I did, and in my instance I got the result that I've wanted for a long time. So, and I'm not a mechanic, I'm just like a do-it-yourselfer. I'll try anything even if I'm not good at it. That's just how I roll. So I'm not great at this stuff, but if I can do it, pretty much anybody can do it. So you just got to be patient. Now, as far as me hooking these hoses up wrong twice, not once, but twice, I hooked them all up, went to test it. When I moved the lever left, it went right, and when I moved it right, it went left, which is an indicator that your hoses are in the wrong location. Then I swapped 2 of them, tried it again, same thing. When I went right, it went left. When I moved this left, it went right. So the 3rd time I moved some of these hoses, then it was fine. Now when I turn left, it goes left. When I move this right, it goes right. So if you're still confused on what hoses go where, I will try to explain that right now. But the problem with that, I already have 3 or 4 takes trying to explain that on my GoPro card right now, but I keep having a hard time trying to explain it because it's confusing. Your cushion valve has these adjustment springs off center. So one is farther to one side and the other one's farther to the other side on the opposite side. And it's difficult which way you're looking at this cushion valve, because depending on if it's upside down or not, or on one side or the other, it's hard to really tell. I drew this little schematic. Right here is the The left is the left lever right here, which left and right is what turns your slew motor. So that is that part of the valve block. There's a hose coming out at the highest part of that valve, and then there's another hose underneath of that, right? So the higher hose, that line comes down and goes in to the end of the cushion valve that has that adjustment spring really close to that side. But like I said, it depends on which way you're looking at this Summit cushion valve. If you flipped this cushion valve, so to speak, literally, if you just picked this up and flipped it, then these adjustment springs would be in this location, and then there's going to be writing on the side of it that says the part number, and then there's even a little tiny OS or ISO schematic that says like V1, V2, blah blah blah. It's a flow thing. That Summit cushion valve part number that Cam gave everybody has writing on one side and none on the other. So if you're looking at this cushion valve on the side that has no writing, then that's where these springs are going to be technically. So anyway, the top line coming out of that valve block comes down, goes through closest to that spring, comes out the other side, and it goes to the bottom port on the slew motor. So if you get one of these hoses correct, then you can't mess up the other one, so to speak, even though I kind of did. But the lower hose on that valve up by the lever, by the hand controls, that lower hose goes through the other part of the Summit cushion valve, which these are, you know, these are directional. There's just two directional parts of this cushion valve that fluid can go through in line. Obviously, it's not like when you hook this hose up it goes diagonally to the other one. It's just goes straight through. So that bottom hose goes through this side of the Summit cushion valve, comes out, and that goes into the top port on the swing motor, which you can see that, right? Now, my schematic and the way I explained it is terrible, so you're probably still confused. If you hook up, as long as you find the right hoses coming off of this valve body for your slew motor control, as long as you find those hoses, you really can't mess it up from there, because you'll just end up doing what I did. You'll have them in the wrong spot, and left will go right and right will go left. In that case, don't switch anything on the cushion valve, just switch the two hoses on that slew motor. This is a multi-directional slew motor. It obviously goes clockwise and counterclockwise, and one of these ports does a certain direction, the other port does the other, right? So if you do what I did, you hook it up and your control takes you in the opposite direction of what you should be, just switch the hoses at the slew motor. Can't mess that up, really. You can't. If I can do this, anyone can, because I'm terrible at this stuff. And obviously in my case, you know, I kind of had to wrap the whole assembly up here in it. You know, nothing's pinched, which is good, but it comes down, goes around. I got this cushion valve really close to this battery, and then it turns again, goes straight into that slew motor. You could even, in theory, you could get some of your own kind of pre-made hydraulic hoses cheap at a farm store, and then have adapters going from, you know, NPT to DIN light or whatever. And you can have a super long hose on here, so it's easier to, you know, wrap the hose around certain things, and because you don't want to pinch any lines, you don't want to crush anything, you don't, like this cushion valve, I got to make sure that doesn't, obviously it's not going to work its way up and then arc between these 2 points on the battery, but you know what I mean. You just got to make sure nothing's touching things it shouldn't or whatever. So it's kind of a tight space in here, but that is kind of why I removed all this stuff off of my mini excavator, because if I would have left that skirting on here, that would have been extremely hard putting that cushion valve in. So that makes installing the cushion valve that much more daunting to people is if you don't take all of your panels off, then you have to work in a really confined space, and there's not a lot of light and not a lot of room for your hands, not a lot of places to put hoses. So I just recommend taking a bunch of your panels off. It's so much easier that way. And now I got my hoses where I want them, and in theory I could put all that sheet metal back on, but I actually made my own custom floor for this thing. That way I have better access to everything underneath and there's more airflow, but that's another video. So I know the whole process might be kind of stressful to some people. You spend a couple thousand on a machine like this and then tear it apart, and if you're not very mechanically inclined or whatever, it's kind of scary, but totally worth it. It's just a process. If you don't know what you're doing, get back on YouTube. Somebody will, you know, have a step-by-step process of how to put everything back together, and it's so you have to make a mess to improve things, it seems like. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. But anyway, I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, this wasn't a how-to, this was just me doing it. I will try to answer everybody's questions the best I can. I know there's a lot of YouTubers that have much better videos explaining how to do this, so there's plenty of material out there to learn from and read from or watch, and you know, so I did want to hurry up and get this cushion valve out. I had quite a few viewers and subscribers that have been talking to me for a long time about my cushion valve ordeal, because I've been talking about how bad I've wanted to put one in for a long time. So I wanted to get this video out there, so if anyone had purchased a cushion valve and the hose kit, that they could kind of reference what I do to work on their machines. So that's why I'm pushing this video out as just installing the cushion valve. I'm also going to have another video coming up doing a bunch of other upgrades to this machine. A different floor, new rollover protection system, new counterweight, putting one of those track motor supports in with the square tubing in between. I have a whole bunch of other things I'm doing to this, and I'm waiting on some stuff in the mail, so I didn't want to wait forever to get the cushion valve stuff out. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or anything that I can answer to the best of my ability, and stay tuned for more videos on this machine. I'm definitely looking forward to putting this thing to work here in a couple weeks when I'm done doing the upgrades. So alrighty, well, thank you so much for watching.